Hey, good morning. Welcome to the JeepSolid Garage. My name is Dale. I'm glad you guys are here because today we are reviewing and installing our Bushwacker flat fender flares. These are the fender flares I really wanted for my project Jeep. This is a 1994 Jeep Wrangler YJ I've been working on for quite a while, and I really wanted these fender flares because I really like the look out of them, but also the clearance it provides. Look at all that clearance. There is 32-inch tires on here right now. I can go bigger, still have plenty of clearance. These are plastic, but that's okay. They're designed to take an impact. Like you bump a tree, they're gonna flex and give back. They're not gonna just dent like metal fender flares would. They come with LED side markers. So many things I really like about these fender flares. I have Amazon links in the description below attached to this video. Be sure to check those out where you can purchase them for your YJ or your TJ. The installation process for both Jeeps is very similar, so be sure to check out those links I have in the description below. Let's get right to the installation. All right, just finished up the driver's side. Turned out really well. So let's go through the installation on the passenger side together. All of these little pieces, these are the inner parts of the fender flares. Obviously, these are the outer parts. For the driver's side, we used pieces D1 and D2. For the passenger side, we're using pieces P1 and P2. We're gonna take these little clips here and we're gonna put them onto the flat part here. Now this is gonna mount like this. So there we go with the clip like that. So the flat part is there because it's gonna mount like that. So the threaded part we want on the inside there. So we're gonna do that. This is piece P1, driver's side is D1. We're gonna put 3 clips on piece P1 here over the pre-drilled holes. Now we can take 3 bolts with washers on them, slide them through the side here. That's why you want to put those other clips on first. With these bolts rattling around, it makes it harder to put those clips on. And then these just slide into the factory holes. Actually, there's 4 of them. One more. And nuts on the back side. Now we'll go ahead and tighten these down snug. This one little hole right here, we'll get to that. That's actually kind of funny. Bushwacker messed up a little bit on that. It doesn't fit what they tell you to do. Now to get piece P2, passenger 2, driver's side, this would be D2. To get this to fit, we need to locate the third factory hole, and we need to measure back 7/16 of an inch from that hole, so just under a half. It says perpendicular, and you have to think back to my high school or middle school geometry classes. So 7/16 back from that, and then the second hole we're going to go 11/16 back. And we'll use a punch to make a mark. And we'll drill a 1/4 inch hole in those 2 spots. And the same thing with P2. We're going to get 3 of these little metal clips over these holes that face down. And now 3 bolts with washers. One into the factory hole and the other 2 into the holes we drilled. And secure these down with the nuts. And this is a 5/16 socket I'm using. Electric ratchet helps a lot. Got that linked in the description below as well. Next, we're gonna prep the wiring for our side marker light, our turn signal on the side. We're gonna take our factory light here and we're gonna cut it right off. And I'm gonna expose a little bit of wire here. And we'll strip back a little bit of wire on each one here. About a 1/2 inch of wire, I'd say. Then we're gonna get these little wire connectors, and we'll go ahead and throw that on the ground and pick it up again. So there's the larger side and the smaller side. The smaller side we're gonna put over our wire and crimp it down. I don't have my proper crimpers. Not sure where they're at, so we're making do with this. Then we'll use our heat gun to shrink wrap this. And now just for fun, I want to test the wiring here. Find a good ground. That looks like a good ground. I got the ignition on, the turn signal on, and I think this one is the power. Yep. So our turn signal will work, and this one is the ground. So the wire with the line on it is the ground wire. The solid color wire is the hot wire. And it was the same thing on the driver's side. The solid color wire was the one that was powered. Now all the fender flares are actually labeled really well. This one says right front, the driver's side said left front. Somebody's peeking in on me recording. Now we're gonna open up our marker light for the side here. This is a little tricky to get this through here. So we're gonna feed the wiring through the hole here, center hole. And the marker light just goes on like that. And then we're going to take a couple of these screws that come in the packaging for the marker light wiring, get it all lined up. Slide them through. The hard part is getting the nut on the back side. So you need an 11/32 socket. We're going to lay it on its side here without the marker light falling out, because you got to get this nut on all the way through here. So not a deep set socket, just a standard socket. We're gonna lay the nut in there so that the nylon side is towards the back. We're gonna peek in here, get it on there, and twist it on. You'll know when it catches. Now this is the funny part that Bushwacker messed up on. What I assume is after their instructions were written, they changed, I don't know, vendors or something for their connections, because these wires are supposed to go through that hole. It ain't gonna fit. So Bushwacker, you guys need to update your instructions or something. So I've got a little 1/2 inch bit here. We're just gonna make this hole so it actually works. We're going to take a couple alcohol swabs. We're going to just clean this edge right along the body here so that the adhesive on the little trim piece will stick nicely. Don't want any oils or wax or anything on here, so. Now we've got this trim piece, which will pull the inside here. There's a little red cover that you pull off. We'll get it started right here at the end of the flare, just on the top side. This is obviously the outer flare. It's going to fit on like that. And we'll just feed it all the way down to the other end and trim the end off with some wire cutters. So you can see how that goes on. So this part will stick against the body. Now the instructions say to wait to pull off the red that goes against the body here, but I don't see a purpose in waiting, because once it goes up against it, it's going to stick. So we're going to pull off the red backing now, and then get these wires through our hole here that will actually fit. And position the fender flare on there. Now we've got 6 of these little black screws we got to get in underneath here into the tabs that we put in on that inner fender. So I find it easiest to kind of pull it down a little bit, get a punch or something, pass it through the hole, find that hole on that tab on that inner fender, hold it in place, get our screw up in there. Now it's in place, looking good. Press it firmly. I mean, it should be rock solid now. They provide this little tool here, which is designed to kind of go underneath the little gasket here, and so you can kind of go along and push it against the body just to check and make sure that this little trim piece is snugged up against it good. But I just use my fingers and go along and push it on. Find that much easier. But as I was doing that, I did notice a few areas where there was a little gap in their defense of their little tool there. Well, I don't like their tool though. I find a putty knife fits under there much better. I'm just kind of like looking along the edge here, making sure that it's stuck up against the body real good. Obviously these curved areas, it's going to be hard to get the putty knife under there. I'm just looking for gaps. Now let's finish up our wiring. So our red is going to go to the solid color wire here. The black to the wire with the line on it. And this will be our other ground. Let's heat shrink these a little bit. If you don't have a heat gun, I mean, you can get away with just electrical taping it, I guess, or that liquid electrical tape. I love that stuff. And in the instructions, they talk about, for the ground here, drilling another hole and mounting it, yada yada. I'm not going to drill another hole. I got plenty of mounting spots underneath here. I'm just going to snip the end of that a little bit. I don't want an eye connection here. I'm going to open this up just a little bit. So we're going to put this around a body mount bolt. We're just going to open it up a little bit. This little bolt right here will work just fine. We'll take it off, clean it up a little bit with our wire wheel so we have a nice ground. Just get a little zip tie on here and zip tie these wires up out of the way. All right, let's turn the ignition on and test it out. Sure hope it's flashing there. And it is. Now we've got these little covers to put over the little bolts here. And they also supply these little markers that go on the side. They want you to mount them somewhere on the side, these reflectors, because this does not have a reflector built into it, so traffic coming from your side, their headlights aren't gonna flash off of anything. So I don't know, I might mount this, stick this on somewhere, but all other vehicles, like their side signal has a built-in reflector on it. Looks like this doesn't, so that's where this comes in. All right, had a little bit of lunch and got the passenger side rear on. But now let me walk you guys through that process, and we will do the driver's side rear together. And it's fairly easy. You just have to pay attention to the labeling of the inner and outer flares. These ones, because we're on driver's side, so this would be D3 and D4. Very similar process to the front. We're going to take these little clips, and there's 3 that go on each side here. And D3, driver's side 3, just fits in the 3 stock holes. Your inner fender liner might get in the way a little bit. You just have to kind of push it out of the way, or if you want, you can drill through it. Or pull it down, however you want to tackle that. And for D4, the driver's side number 4, or if you're working on the passenger side, it'd be P4. We're going to put bolts in the top 2 of D4 into our factory top 2 holes. And then the bottom hole here, we're going to mark, because we are going to have to drill that one. So with these pushed in, if they fit nice and snug, going to hold it in place, and I'm going to make a mark here. I'm going to take this away. We want that mark to be 1 5/8 inches away from the inside of the fender here, And yeah, we're exactly 1 5/8 inches. That's perfect. So we're going to drill that out at 1/4 inch. Got a 1/4 inch bit. And let's make a punch mark real quick so our bit doesn't walk around on our paint. Just try to give something for the bit to grab onto right there. That's done, looks good. Now we can put D4 in place. These two inner parts are secured with those 6 bolts. And one thing I did learn, I've got our trim piece back on here again for the driver's side rear. And earlier I took off the red strip right away, but yeah, like they recommend leaving it on until you get it installed, but I like the idea of getting it partially installed. Actually, let me get this started here a little bit. This worked a little bit better, being that this is the 4th time I've done this now. Just get a little bit of it started up here, then get your fender on. Once it's started, don't get it snugged up all the way, but once it's started, then pull your rest of the red sticky off there. Then you can pop it on there. Fits really good. Now I got to go along the bottom and do the bottom screws. And one advantage, like the difference between these Bushwacker rubber fender flares versus metal or steel. I mean, you'd think steel is stronger, right? Yes, it is. These are actually designed to flex a little bit. So when you're off-roading, you're wheeling, crawling, whatever you're doing, you brush up against a little tree, a board, you know, something that hits these, they're designed to flex a little bit, which is handy, versus metal, which is just gonna dent or actually take that energy into your body and bend your body. Now the same process underneath, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these little black screws to put in. We're gonna use our punch to find the spot. Also really helps to have a stubby screwdriver, because it's hard to get a full-length screwdriver in here. Stubby screwdriver to the rescue. All right, got the driver's side rear installed. I'm really liking the look of these. It is exactly what I want. I have Amazon links for these Bushwacker Fender Flares at the bottom of the video description. So at the bottom of the video, there's that little arrow. Click on that little arrow. It'll bring up the video description. I will have Amazon links for Bushwacker Fender Flares for your YJ or your TJ. The installation process for the two of them is very similar. We got the side marker, lights working. Everything looks just great. Super happy with how this project Jeep is turning out. Check out those Amazon links below. That really helps me out as well. Subscribe to the channel so you can follow along as I keep going on this build. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a good day. Yeah, really liking it. Looks so good.